guys. I'm going to kind of do a favorites, some of the stuff I have that are my favorites that maybe you would like to get as a gift for yourself or someone else. So, without further ado, let me jump right in here with this one. Here is the Beatles Anthology. Why? Well, why do I like this? Well, I watched it on television when it was on some years back. Of course, John Lennon had died in 1980 and the rest of the Beatles. It was always like one of these things, would they get back together again? And believe it or not, there was a couple of times when they thought they might. You can Google this stuff and find this out. But at one point, John Lennon and Paul McCartney were in New York City at, I think, the Dakota. Paul was visiting in town, and Saturday Night Live had done like a little thing that said, it was a spoof, and they said, we'll offer the Beatles, because there was millions of dollars being offered them to reunite. And Lorne Michaels said, I'm breaking the budget. I'm offering $1,000 for any combination of Beatles. Paul and John would be great. Ringo, if he's around, maybe I'll cut it in half or something like that. It was pretty funny. And they were watching it, and they said, wouldn't it be a lark or a fun thing to do to go down there and actually go on, take him up, get his $1,000 and go on there and do a song. And they were almost going to do it, but it turned out they wouldn't have made it in time. Live show, and by the time they got there, it would have been over. But that almost happened. Well, anyway, the Beatles Anthology went on for a bunch of nights. It takes the Beatles from early in their career right through to the end, and introduces Free as a Bird, which took John Lennon's unfinished work from before his death, and the other three Beatles all added something to it, including vocals and so on, and really turned it into something that was very Beatlesque. So if you've ever thought about liking the Beatles, or you've liked the Beatles, or you've heard a Beatles song you kind of liked, you want to know more, this is the place to do it on video anyway. It's you're gonna hear plenty of songs, you're gonna see plenty of rare concert performances, and ultimately you'll learn a lot about a band that, for my money, was the best band in all of our lifetimes. All things considered, songwriting, singing, harmonizing, musical ability, the whole 9 yards. The Beatles Anthology, highly recommend it. There are a handful of things that I was really jonesing for. I really wanted when they got announced and when I knew they were going to be coming out and so on. This is one of them. The Twilight Zone, and I owned some stuff on DVD, but I really was looking forward to Twilight Zone on Blu-ray because I knew they were going to clean it up. There was going to be a ton of extras, like different interviews with Rod Serling over the years, including some on television. And then some from like colleges that were done, recorded and were available. Some really great commentaries by either actors that were in the show or somebody who directed or was on the camera or something. Just really, really great stuff. So what a thrill it was when this thing finally came out. And I picked it up fairly early on, and you really can't tell from this angle, but this case is really cool, the box that it comes in. Sadly, it's a little thin, so I put some cardboard in to kind of reinforce it, some thin white cardboard on the edges. I just felt it was a little thin. I just kind of laid it in there, so as I take discs out, I have to kind of put it back in again. It just gives a little more solidness to it. But make no mistake, this is a pretty solid set on its own, simply because of the content. And you've got tons of discs here. 5 different seasons, or 5 different seasons of the Twilight Zone are here. Pretty cool. And the other thing you've got is some of the old commercials on here too, which is really neat. On some of the intros and stuff, which I think is neat too. You've got audio lectures, promos for next week's show, as I said, radio dramas, sponsored billboards, isolated music scores, numerous audio commentaries, rare unofficial pilot episode of The Time Element, which is really cool, and the original unaired pilot version of Where Is Everybody with Rod Serling's network pitch included. This is just amazing. It's in black and white, 75 hours worth of entertainment, 156 episodes of The Twilight Zone. And if you're a fan of The Twilight Zone, let me see if I can give you a little, there's the shimmer of this thing. If you're a fan of The Twilight Zone, you should own it. If you're not a fan of The Twilight Zone, maybe you haven't seen it. Because I think everybody should like The Twilight Zone. There are certain episodes that are just amazing. And I think everybody should see, and I could spend 2 hours just talking about the Twilight Zone at least, but I'm going to keep it relatively short so I can move forward. Let me just say, if you like the Twilight Zone, if you've enjoyed the Twilight Zone, Very rewatchable episodes, ones you can share with the kids or grandkids at some point. Really just something that, you know, we shouldn't lose, and I thank goodness they put it on Blu-ray while they could, and that we didn't lose these beautiful, beautiful shows. They've been in syndication forever, like The Honeymooners. But you know what? It needs to be on Blu-ray, and it is on Blu-ray, and what a thrill to have it on Blu-ray. So I can't say enough about the Twilight Zone. One of my favorite things I own, and one of the things I was most excited to pick up when I first heard it was coming out. So really good stuff there. All right, I've got this one in a sleeve or a bag, we're going to call it, a plastic bag. But this is the 25th anniversary Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert. It says concerts, but, well, it really is concerts, I guess. It's two. There was two different nights, and they kind of put them together. But this is a glorious, I think of it as one concert, but it is two. Two glorious concerts then. One of the best variety type, we have multiple acts, one of the best concerts I've seen done. They really did a nice job with it. Everything from introducing it with, Tom Hanks, who, you know, for my money, does great intros. You know, he's into it, you know. He does a great intro, and he intros Jerry Lee Lewis, you know, banging out on 88 keys, great balls of fire. And Jerry Lee Lewis does a kick-ass version and kicks over the seat and storms off the stage with a smile on his face. They don't call him a killer for nothing, man. The guy's still pretty cool. And then you go into artists like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and some guests. Sad that Neil Young didn't join them, which would have been very appropriate. But you've got like Bonnie Raitt and Jackson Browne and James Taylor, and then you've got Paul Simon, who brings out Dominic DiMucci. I think I've got that right. Who does The Wanderer, and Little Anthony and the Imperials, who do just two people in the world or something. I think that's what it is. And then he brings out Art Garfunkel, and Simon and Garfunkel do another reunion and do a bunch of songs, including Bridge Over Troubled Water and The Boxer and Mrs. Robinson, and all this stuff is filmed. And then he brings out Crosby and Nash. Simon does actually before Garfunkel, and they do a tribute to George Harrison and sing something. So I think George Harrison had died like maybe the year before. But what a great concert. You got Bruce Springsteen, U2, Mick Jagger appearing, Fergie, who does a kick-ass version of Gimme Shelter with Jagger. I mean, really, really worth seeing. And some other Black Eyed Peas are on there too. Let me flip it. Oh, Metallica. Lou Reed, before he died, doing an awesome version of Sweet Jane. Back to the way it should sound. If you're a music fan, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but this is a great thing. Stevie Wonder, who chokes up while doing a Michael Jackson tribute. He tries to do The Way You Make Me Feel and just kind of loses it for a little while, but pulls it together. Aretha Franklin, Jeff Beck, with a wonderful version of Day in the Life. Doesn't even list it there, but it's there, trust me. You say Springsteen, Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne, Ray Davies of the Kinks, John Fogerty. Yeah, what a lineup. Billy Joel. Wonderful stuff. One of the best concert videos I've ever seen. I think on the back it even says, there it is. What else do you need to know? It's the best concert ever. 2009. They showed it on HBO, but these are all the performances, not just what made it there. So I can't recommend it enough. If you have a music lover, now this is available on Blu-ray. I picked it up on DVD. It looks great to me. One day I will get the Blu-ray, but I just don't have it now. I wanted to sell this on eBay and get the Blu-ray, and my wife said, "Oh, why do you need both? You know, you don't need both. Sell it on eBay first." But I just couldn't bear to sell it. So until I had the Blu-ray in my hand, I guess. Isn't that weird? But that's what it was. And some of you have been there and done that. But anyway, it looks great on DVD, so I'm holding on to it the way it is for now. Someday I will get the Blu-ray. But I enjoy watching it just as it is for now. So I would recommend on Blu-ray the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Concerts 25th anniversary. if you grew up in the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s, I guess. I'm trying to remember when it went off the air. And even if you didn't, you've heard of and probably know of Johnny Carson. These are the curtains, the iconic curtains that greeted millions of TV show viewers every night around 11:30, 11:35 for decades. As Johnny Carson, Midtown boy made good, former, I think he was a weatherman at one point, but comedian, a host of various shows, and finally of the Tonight Show when Jack Parr left it. And he held the reins and was and is the king of late night. There will not be another. So iconic. And I enjoy a lot of what the current folks are doing, including the Letterman and Fallon and Kimmel. And I enjoy what it is, but there was no one that was Johnny Carson. And so I revere Johnny Carson. And this set opens up like this, which is kind of cool in and of itself. The curtains part, and in here you've got a wide variety of different things that have been released separately and so on. So here is the original Ultimate Collection starring Johnny Carson. This is probably the key to the whole thing. It's got his final show on it, I believe. Yeah, it's got the final episode along with a couple right before it. You've got, these are all DVD, by the way. This little slip case there, and it opens up like this. Three sets. Timeless moments. There's a little bit of overlap on some of these, but not much. Here you've got country, All-Star America Country. These are some songs that have been done over the years. Here's some stand-up comedians that have come on to the Tonight Show. Of course, he introduced a lot of them. And you've got people like Jerry Seinfeld, George Carlin, Drew Carey, Rodney Dangerfield, who was a classic, and more. Some of my favorite moments on the Tonight Show were when he did his, Karnak the Magnificent and Art's Tea Time Movies. And if you've watched the show, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. But here's the Timeless Moments. This is a 3 set here. And you've got 2 discs in each one. And these are key moments from the Tonight Show where he imitated Reagan, or Art's Tea Time Movies, or Karnak the Magnificent. Many of his guests that he had on. Just classic stuff. If you've never seen Don Rickles in action, you need to watch him. He's a maniac. He's still around, by the way. But a lot of the folks that you'll see here on these shows are dead. Jack Benny, Jimmy Stewart, Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. There's a lot of folks that are no longer around. But anyway, the Johnny Carson, here's Johnny, for my money, and I spent my money, the best set for the price. You can find this for a pretty reasonable price. Looks great on the shelf, and I highly recommend the Here's Johnny, the definitive DVD collection from The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. So look for it and enjoy it. It's something you can put in any time and find something to laugh at, find some entertainment, watch an interview where you'll just crack up with some of the things that Johnny Carson did. He was a master of timing, and just really great stuff. So you want to see a master of work, pick this one up. All right, guys, that wraps up this first installment of stuff I think is pretty damn cool to own, and might be some of my favorites that I own. Not might be, they are. And might end up being some of the favorites you could own, or one of the favorite gifts you've ever given somebody else. So, the Beatles Anthology, the Twilight Zone complete series, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 25th Anniversary Concerts, and Here's Johnny, the definitive DVD collection of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. That's it for now, guys.